Excitingly enough, we are live on the internet, so that's good. But there's always a little bit of small talk at the beginning of these ones as we figure out the fine details. So what I'll do, bro, is I'll go to my page. I'll grab you this link and I'll post it in the Zoom chat for you.
Okay.
And then all you need to do is probably click on it, and then you can click share. That works, or just copy and paste the hyperlink, whatever works for you. This is the Facebook one. Where are you? There you are. Look at us, all the things we can do these days. We can make a video and share it in all these different places. Oh, there we go. Imagine podcasting 100 years ago.
We carry a pigeon or telegram.
Yeah.
We're pretty slow, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, there we go. So this one is just for Facebook?
Well, this is the Facebook video, yeah. So I'd imagine if you posted this, but I can grab a LinkedIn as well. Are you a LinkedIn guy?
Yeah.
Let's try it.
You can do both. Cool. I'll chuck them up.
Yeah, we can do anything. We're in like 9 places at once right now.
We're sending, but I learned something the other day that Elon Musk is literally doing Uber Eats for space stations. I'm probably a bit behind the eight ball there, but yeah, I'm sure we can organize a couple of links if we can deliver food to space stations.
Because it doesn't take that long to get to the space station. I feel like you get there within the day at least, don't you? So
yeah.
As far as I know I'm a bit of a fan of all that astrophysics stuff. So
it's interesting. Like I would love to go to space. I'd definitely, where that money was in the bank, I'd do it. Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. You know what? I'm just never done this on LinkedIn before. I'm going to copy this URL and see if this works for you. Anyone watching right now, thank you for watching as these two old ducks work our way through technology. We're not spring chickens anymore.
No, we're not.
But
wise. It's wisdom, though. It's wisdom.
Posing as wisdom. It's incompetence posing as wisdom. You know.
Now, let me. So get it right. Double check the name of the podcast.
Coaches to the Moon.
Coaches to is that okay?
To the Moon Digital is my.
That's what I was confusing with. Okay.
Yeah, there's a bit of a crossover, but having two things named the same thing, what a nightmare. So
no, we do what we got to do.
The space theme going along.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Okay, man. We are rocking and rolling. We'll do our little intro and then life goes on.
Let's see what sort of wisdom we can get out there in the world.
Dude, we got plenty.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to the Coaches to the Moon podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning I'm very, very blessed to be joined by Kai Harris. He's a financial advisor, he's a business owner, and he's the host of the It's More Than Money podcast. He has been in financial sector for 17 years, I believe. Loves a good surf. We're both fans of space. And straight out of Bris Vegas, Queensland. Yep. Kai, thank you so much for being here today, mate.
Thank you so much, Alex. Pleasure being on. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Well, we've already connected over a few things. We're both beachside fellas with young families and fans of cold water and fans of the cosmos, you know?
Yeah. There's desires for me to go into space, and it seems like you've got a lot of interest in what's going on up there too. It's pretty cool. There's big amount of everything out there compared to just what we are on this planet. So it's obviously not what the podcast is about. So we'll get in into what we were supposed to.
No, but that's okay. I've got a little trick that I do often. Like, if it doesn't happen so much anymore because I'm feeling quite good about business and stuff. But sometimes when I'm lying in bed and you're freaking out about life, something small, you know, we haven't got enough leads on this campaign or whatever, go into, within the Milky Way, there's like freaking 300 million planets, and then there's 2 billion galaxies in the known universe. So how freaking small is that one problem?
Yes. Yeah, we do get caught up very easily in the insignificance of petty problems.
We do. And we're here today, which is probably financial problems, and, you know, scarcity around finances and that kind of thing is a huge epidemic in the coaching space, because as we were talking about, and the reason for this podcast is that there are so many amazing coaches out there who have a dream to have an impact on people. They are experts at their craft. However, when it comes to business, finance, that sort of thing, that's where they struggle. I was in that pool for 6 or 7 years, and now I've managed to claw my way out of it, which is great. So today, man, I'd love to talk to you about that sort of thing. And I just want to touch on your podcast first, because I love the name of your podcast. It's More Than Money. What's that all about?
Well, it came about pretty quickly, and it was one of those moments in life that hopefully and quite possibly a lot of coaches have had, where they've just gone, stuff it, I'm just going to give it a go. So I ended up, short end of the story, I ended up being a guest on a podcast by literally nominating for myself to be on one after I saw that the guest had dropped off and couldn't do the episode. So I went, I'll do it. And this was through social media feeds. From there, I thought, cool, I'm going to do this. And at the time when I started, I didn't really have a name, but throughout the work that I've done, particularly over the last 10 years, but it's a little bit like the case of the Olympic swimmer. We only really see the result and things that get called an overnight success, but we don't see the 10 or 20 years of it in the making. So for me, the idea literally just popped into my head about it's more than money. And what it is it's basically me preaching what I've put into practice for a very, very long time now, which is life being more than just money and the pursuit of money or the pursuit of material gain. And that's just beyond, cars and houses and all that sort of stuff, in the sense of material gain, that's climbing the career ladder. Like success in life is growing your business, or success in life is having more clients, going up the ladder, going into the boardroom of a company that you used to be just an admin worker at, or even the mailman at, or the mailwoman. So It's More Than Money was about opening people up to the focus of what they really want in life. And when they do embed themselves and they embody themselves with that experience, the money actually flows. And ironically, the money doesn't actually matter as much, because the focus, the abundance, and the feeling that people look for in money is actually obtained through the pursuit of what it is they really love doing. So effectively discovering your purpose. So that's how it come about. That's the crux of the title.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. And it's it's very important for that message to come across in the early stages of business, right? When money's going out, not coming in, and you've got to stay laser focused on why you're here in the first place. I personally worked in hospitality jobs pretty much the entire time I had my first 5 years of my coaching business.
Yeah.
Hospitality paid the bills, and then my coaching business gave me more bills, while I learned and made mistakes and practiced things. And that end vision, I don't know why I stuck with it, but I'm very, very happy I did, because now I've got a really cool life. And more than money.
You would have some periods of time there where you doubted and you hesitated and you think, is this really going to work? Am I being silly? And all those old recordings play around in your head, and all those old voices, the little voice that sits on your shoulder and tries to talk you out of things, that would have been playing a big role, I imagine.
Yeah, mine's called Dad.
Commonly, poor old mum and dad get blamed. You've got children, I've got children. I'm sure I'm going to be to blame along the way as well.
Yeah.
But it's really, it's incredibly important to become aware of that little voice and what it's actually saying, because 99 times out of 100, it's untrue. And you obviously found that yourself.
Yeah, man. Well, I think the only time I got really stressed about money was when it stressed out my partner, Ali. I say partner because she was my girlfriend, then my fiance, now my wife. The only time money stressed me out was when it stressed her out. And I felt it was my fault putting her in that position, But, and I think that's just like there's an empathy in coaches, and we care about other people more than ourselves quite a lot. And you're a dad and a husband, and we feel that way about other people. So I think we're willing to put ourselves in the shit as long as we don't bring other people down with us.
That's a responsibility. It's sometimes a little tough to bear.
It is, but it's okay, because we got through it. And I know exactly where that programming has come from, and I'll talk to you about that later on, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So we kind of already touched on this whole thing that money can't buy happiness. And I know this because I've got a friend of mine who we're both in marketing agencies, and she just blew up recently. Like, she just rocketed. And it was really, really cool to see. And she went from like similar income level to me to doing like 6-figure months just in like a month.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to her on the podcast, and I was talking to her about that experience, and she's like, it's kind of the same. Like behind my laptop here, there's just still piles of laundry around. I've still got to pick up my feet after this, and like there's still the same problems every
Yeah,
day. Like it's just that there's just another zero in the
yeah,
bank. In the bank. Luckily, the
yeah,
zero's at the end, not at the front. You know, so
yeah.
so
We
it's
don't want
super
those ones.
interesting. In your experience in the financial space, you would have seen people in all levels of
Mm.
financial security, I suppose. Do you see amongst sort of people who have really quote made it? Do you see a trend between the people who are happier and the people who are not?
No, like some of those with the least amount of money are the happiest. And ironically, there's people that I've seen throughout the years with good, healthy sums of money, 3, 5, 10, 15 million and more, or businesses that are doing 50, 60, 70 million a year. And I've actually found, and through the exploratory process we go through with clients, is that we discover they were happier 20 years ago when they didn't have their bank balance the way it is right now. So what actually happens, and this is really, really evident, and I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people I've seen over the years, and the conversations importantly we've had those, and the deeper level we get to, and the vast majority of people don't, so they don't have the eternal capacity to sort of create and hold large amounts of money. And the perfect example out of that, and this is one that goes around almost like a what's that word, like a myth, it's lottery winners. And you see
Yes.
it time and time again. And research has shown, actual research has shown that no matter the size of their winning, they actually end up returning back to their original financial state. Now, the reason for that is it comes internally. Your income and your financial state can only grow to the extent of your thinking. And we'll get into this later, as you said, but what I see in people is exactly that. Their financial circumstances are simply a mirror to the value they have or feel within themselves and their beliefs and those thought patterns and all those sorts of things. So it's really obvious. It's like I've said to people, it's like we're getting a slap on the forehead all the time to wake up. There's signs in front of us all the time about what's not serving us or what our thinking is actually creating. Yet we have the view that this is just how life rolls for me. This is just how it goes. And I've got to struggle and I've got to endure and hopefully I get somewhere. That's
And
the big difference I've seen. Yeah.
yeah, right. And that's what we'd call scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset or kind of a growth mindset versus more of a fixed mindset. Right.
Yeah, it absolutely plays a role. And it's again interesting when I've seen people with a lot of money. And I guess more direct answer to your question, they're not necessarily happier than those without it. It really is all a state of mind.
Yeah. And it's nice to see. It's nice to see as well, because I think living in a country where cost of living is quite high, obviously having money to live off, delivers a certain level of security, and that delivers a certain level of happiness, I suppose. And
yes.
that, especially when you've got a family around, like I know that if I was stressed about money now that I've got the girls, like I've got 3 people out there relying on me, then I imagine that wouldn't make me the happiest person in the world. Trying to pay all their bills and freaking hospital bills and stuff that comes up.
Yeah.
So I think that's important that we recognize that there are costs of living, and but it's about reaching a level where you feel secure and then realizing that what is this extra income going to do for me? Do I have a plan for it? Or is it just to sit there? Is it for status? Is it for watches? That sort of thing. I notice you do not look like a flashy guy. You got a nice chair, but that's for your back, right? That's for your back.
Yeah.
Why do you think people, why do you think business owners who get to that point where their life is fully paid for and abundant, why do you think they keep chasing more and more zeros in their bank account?
It's simply a lack of connection with their true self, plain and simple. And what I alluded to earlier when I was speaking, I believe it was probably off air, is that I preach what I've put into practice. There's a saying, obviously, practice what you preach, but I preach what I've actually put into practice. So firsthand, much like a really simple example would be, you can read a diet plan about what you should eat every week or every day of every week. But if you don't actually do it, then how can you actually speak to it in some element of truth and authenticity about this is how it works and this is how it doesn't work? So I've effectively trialed everything that can be trialed, and I've pushed through things that didn't work and things that absolutely worked for me. And ultimately, it gets to a point we don't recognize or connect with our true selves and our true purpose and what we're here to do. And I know that sounds almost way out of left field. And I think we're talking off air again about getting out into the galaxy and what's out there beyond planet Earth. But it's so true. I cannot speak any higher truth than that. We need to connect with what our purpose is here. And that doesn't necessarily mean we all have to be the great humanitarian like Bono, or we don't have to be a world-changing tech entrepreneur like a Gates or a Zuckerberg, or Elon Musk, probably more relevant there. But we've actually just got to connect what it is. And we've just got to realize that when we get out of our head, and a head is nothing more than a program, like with Microsoft on our computer. And by the way, I'm not getting paid for that. I'm open to be paid for that if they want to sponsor me. But we're just like a program on a computer. That's how our mind is. It just serves to function on the day-to-day. It gets us in the car, drives us to work. It cooks dinner. It organizes our meals, all those sorts of things. Importantly, it manages our money. But you've got to connect with what we really want. And where I find people falling over, and myself included, I've been through this, is the pursuit of money, because that's what we're taught. You look at our high school education system, it's about getting a good education to get a good job, to earn good money, to stand on our own 2 feet, to get a home and get married and have a family. That's the basics of it. That's what we're taught. So that's the pattern we actually settle into. So we're not taught how to connect with what really energizes us. I see when I talk to people about money, I talk about their superannuation and shares and all that sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, this is good. We're getting organized, and you've got to have that good relationship with your money, and you've got to get it organized. But when I start digging into what really matters, so what your values are, what's meaningful, you can actually see their energy shift. And that moment is revealing exactly what matters and what you're here to do, what you're here to create. That's the problem. We're too connected with the material aspects of the world, and we disconnect from what our true self is.
Yeah, that's massive, man.
It is. It's a whole nother episode in itself.
Oh, it's why you're here, man. It's why you're here. And it's really true. I actually had a really funny moment the other day when I was talking to my team. So I've got a team of 3 people.
Yeah.
They're all awesome. They're all kind of in their sort of mid to late 20s. They're all in the Philippines, and they all work really hard for my business.
Yeah.
And I was realizing these guys are working hard for my business. Why would I expect them to work hard for my business? So I was like, I've got to get in there and inspire, why all their roles every day are important. It's not just about having more dollars in our bank account, in the To The Moon digital company bank account. Because once again, their salaries are all paid. My salary is paid. The bill. Why do we need more than this? Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I was saying to them that every conversation that my appointment setter gets out there and starts is leading towards potential impact. Every post that my social media manager makes that might, take some of your content and put it out to the world, and that inspires someone, it's impact. And the more people we can reach, the more impact we can make, the more money we can put in the bank account, and the more families I can hire and support. I love the fact that this marketing agency is supporting not only my family, but 3 other families in the Philippines. And I love to support more and more. Yeah. And I found myself getting really, really passionate when I was talking about this. And it was super interesting, because what you just said was, when you see people's energy shift, you see what their true purpose is. And I saw my own energy shift, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is nuts. And everyone on the call just kind of, their faces lit up, and they kind of felt it.
Yeah, it comes off on other people. They see it, and then they start feeling it themselves. Yeah.
So it was super interesting, because coaches always talk about what's your purpose in life. And I know if I say, I was put here to generate leads on Facebook for coaches, it's like, obviously not. Some people might have their purpose. And for you, I'm sure your purpose isn't to sit down and help people figure out their superannuation, but it's the impact of that, right? So it's not the day-to-day nitty-gritty. It's the actual, the ripple effect of what you're doing in your day-to-day tasks.
Yeah, it takes digging. Like you really do have to do the work. And done the work. And I know many around me and who I've connected with have also done the work. And I know that sounds like a vague thing in itself, but it's really about, in simple terms, just being healthy, going for a run, doing what actually energizes you, eating well and sleeping well, and all those sorts of things, those good practices that we don't do because we're so caught up in chasing money. And especially if you're starting a new business, like, it's an incredibly stressful time. And there's no sort of greater pattern of thought than that around financial security. I've got to hustle. So there's that thing around these days about hustling, but you can hustle in the total wrong way. You can be going down a path that isn't yours at all. And that's when burnout actually comes along. Burnout is usually a result of us going so hard after something that doesn't really serve us. And it's not really what we're supposed to be doing. And that's why you see mainly in 40s and 50s where people are burning out, or they're having sort of nervous breakdowns, or there's divorces and separations, is because, I've seen so many people 20 years on that have got the bank balance that you could be incredibly proud of and people would be envious of, but they're just not happy. They wish they were back where they were 20 years ago before they had all that responsibility. So identifying your purpose is definitely part of it. And that too is a vague term. How do we actually do that? Well, anyone who might be listening, how do we find our purpose? What does that actually even mean? And you've hit the nail on the head, and we've shared something which is exactly it. It's those moments where you feel that energy boost and you go, yeah, that's a great idea. They're the things you need to explore. And they're the things you need to run with and allow to gain momentum. And I know I've seen people, and myself included, we have instincts. You have those moments where we dream, whether it's a daydream or we wake up one morning after a night of really good dreams about something we'd love to do. And that moment in a day could literally be a few seconds. That's an insight into what your purpose is. When you feel elevated, when you feel energized by that little daydream, but soon enough, you snap out of it. The voice of reason comes back in and says, hang on a second, stop dreaming. You got to get back to reality, get back to work. And that's what we do. So we shut it down before it's got any momentum to run. Like it's cut off. So we get back to the grind and we do what we're going to do. But the dream, those moments is where you start to identify your purpose. And then the deep inner work, that work is to explore that. So like what you did by the sounds of it, you had, let's just call it normal employment, but on the side To The Moon Digital got going. And that's the way to do it. You keep, like, as a close family friend, got the biggest musical talent, natural talent that I've ever seen. Not to say he's the only one, but he's learned music by listening. He's had bugger all music lessons just from a young age. He could just play. He's wasting his time in the sense that he's going to work, he hates it, but he's not using his free time to be creative in the musical side because he has doubts and he thinks he's not good enough and all those sorts of things. But that's where he needs to be doing the work. And as that rises up, as he gets in that creative flow, then he can drop off the work. The work's just sitting there to pay the bills and keep food in his stomach. It's just a tool, much like a shovel. If you want to dig a hole, just use your shovel. You don't have an emotional attachment to your shovel. If it breaks, you just get another one. You know what I mean? That's all money needs to be. You got a relationship with it. You got to use it the way it works best for you. That's it. That's where it cuts off. So talking to people in my purpose around super and those sorts of things, yeah, they're just tools. They're just ways to get there. But it's about channeling that money into what matters most for them. There's no point me telling you, for example, Alex, pay your mortgage off in 5 years because it's financially prudent to do so and you'll pay less interest. But you might want to use that money instead to travel the world and connect with people. You might want to go to space because that's going to mean more to you than paying your debt off in 5 years. You're happy to pay your debt off in 10. So it's about using money to live life and enhance your life, enhance your experience here, because I promise you that cliche, when you're 85 and you're looking back at your life going, I wish I had of, you do not want to be in that seat because it's too late then. So it's a big balance between let's put the money where it needs to be so you can live life at the very, very best way that you can.
Mic drop.
It's so true. To give you some context, I don't know if we're allowed to swear any, but I used to shit myself around money years ago. I used to so much anxiety. And I was holding on so tight, and some will look at me and say, yeah, but as you worked hard and your money's grown, and it's good, it's easy enough for you to say now. It's like, no, that's not it. because I wouldn't have got to where I got to. I'm not going where I'm going if I had kept hanging on so
Hmm.
tight. Invest
One
money to
of us
make
is
money.
freezing.
Hey,
Hold up a second there, Kai.
you're right.
Now, one of us is freezing a fair bit. I'm not sure if it's me or you.
Let me check. Seems
Oh, well, I seem okay. You seem okay.
could have been just a glitch.
Well, it looked like we were having some trouble there. We might be
Well,
back. Who knows? No? Are we struggling?
I seem okay. Think I can hear you well. I can
Yeah,
see
me
you well.
too. Let's do this. Okay. Let's end the live stream for a second.
Yep.
My goodness. There he is.
Back.
We're back.
Does that
We're
seem
back.
better?
Maybe. Who knows? We'll figure it out.
We'll keep rolling.
Yeah, we'll keep rolling. We can the live streamers can deal with that. We can cut out that little bit of the podcast, but that's all good.
Exactly.
Dude, what was your sort of childhood like financially? Did you grow up in a secure household? Was it tough? Was it good? What did it feel like?
It was a secure household, and when I've come across a lot of clients over the years too, they say much of the same thing. I never wanted for anything. I never, we were looked after. But what I see beyond that too is that, yeah, but you knew not to ask for anything also. You knew it wasn't really possible. You knew that if you wanted that new bike, you knew deep down, now it's probably not possible, because we got so ingrained with not just what was said by our parents, or if you overheard a conversation, a fight or otherwise amongst mum and dad about money, or dad bought something he shouldn't have. It might have just been a passing comment. It might have been something we actually experienced, like a vibe in the house, or just a general stress around money. And for me, my house was secure. My dad worked incredibly hard, and he put in some big hours, 6 and 7 days a week, and 20, 30-hour shifts and all this sort of thing. But what I saw and what I experienced was hardly any reward, and things weren't affordable. And it was kind of all this work for bugger all reward. And I remember my dad saying to me, all he ever wanted was his carton of beer every week. That's all he got his money for. So I've associated with hard work with no money, pretty much.
Yeah.
We had good food. Mum was an incredible mum. She looked after us. Everything was clean. We never wanted for food, nothing like that. We had our sport. But also, if I was to look back and I guess pick it apart, and not in a disrespectful way at all, but just for observations to see how that actually groomed me to be who I am today, or who I was, it was scarce. Everything was kind of measured, and it had to be. I get that. Everything was kind of measured. They started a business, and I remember the fear in and around that, and the concern about them starting a business. And Mum used to say, we had to sell the car. We ate the ute because it was Dad's work ute. He used to drive to work. And, we ate the ute and we only just made it, and all these sorts of comments that come up. So I think it's really important here not to dismiss as a child how much we take in energetically. I know that sounds way out far-fetched stuff, but the vibe that we pick up from our parents is incredibly powerful, and we do actually take it in. We soak it in like a sponge, not just the words. So I felt that angst in the household about sort of managing the books and managing money. And I gradually woke up to that. I explored that. And it's not a blame mum or dad thing. And so I got mummy issues, I got daddy issues and all those jokes and stigma that come with it. It's just, it is what it is. That's what you were shown. It's now up to us to wake up to it and change it for the better. So if you're a coach and you are preaching what you've practiced, but money is still your anchor, then this is where you need to start putting into practice some better behaviors and patterns, because it can change. Absolutely 100% it can change.
Fantastic. Really, really good. Before we go, what are some of so once you've gained an awareness of your kind of childhood money beliefs, your money program, and you can identify where it's holding you back, are there any kind of blanket next steps you can take to move towards a healthier relationship with your money?
Yeah, you've got to you got to question the belief. So if the simple ones, I can't afford it. Money doesn't grow on trees. Even just your dialogue with children, how you speak to them, like as an example, with our children, if something comes up about something they want to buy, and I might have, sort of known the money's not there, I would say, you join in with them, right? You join everything. They're excited. They want to get this thing, whatever it is, scooter. They want to get a scooter. And you join in with them on that excitement. You go, okay, cool. I want this for you as well. You don't shut them down by saying, no, we can't afford it. Stop asking for things, because that just crushes the dream. And then that's the habit they've got. So as an adult, that's what they continue to do. They just keep shutting themselves down. So when you've got the awareness, then you challenge it. Is this true? Is it true that I can't afford it? How about you ask the question, how can I afford it? How can I make this happen? Because I know it's going to be, one, it's going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy it. Two, I know that it's going to be worthwhile once I do get it. And three, I know that once I do prove to myself I can get it and I can afford it, how good's that going to feel? So you've got to question whether it's true, and then ask yourself, how can I reframe it? Flip it around. So that's the next step. The third step is really, you've just got to keep putting it into practice, because a belief is simply a thought you keep thinking or keep hearing. That's all it is. So if you've got yourself into a point through upbringing and otherwise that you believe you can't afford it, or you'll never have enough money, then doesn't it stand to reason then you simply keep telling yourself you can afford it? And you got to keep putting it into practice and believe in that. So it takes work. You spend 25 years, 40 years, whatever it might be, getting disconnected with money or having a shit relationship with money. It's going to take some years to get back in a good relationship.
100%.
Pen to paper is a good thing. Helps bring clarity.
Yeah, getting thoughts out on paper is massive. And that actual pen to paper rather than fingers to keyboards, right? I think it's
Yep.
I feel like whenever I like this little book here comes out when I've got, gems come out. And I've got something that you said earlier on that I'm going to write down, which was burnout comes when you're working too hard for something that, isn't your true purpose, or working for something you don't believe in. And that was massive. And a belief is a thought that you think of every day. Is that?
Yeah. Like we got 60,000 thoughts in a day.
Yeah.
And if let's just say 50,000 of those are pretty average. I mean, you imagine someone standing beside you all day, constantly whispering in your ear negative things. You probably end up in jail because you do something illegal to them.
Yeah.
But we allow it in our own head, and we end up getting in this pattern of, this is just who I am. But it's not true. It's what you've learned to become. But who you really are is all abundance and wealth and richness and happiness and joy. And as weird as that might sound, it's absolutely true. And you've got to just reconnect with that. It's all there within us. Get out of our heads and connect with who we really are, and it all starts to flow.
You're a very inspirational guy, Kai. You're a very fun guy to hang out with. I'd love to get your thoughts on, if you've got 5 more minutes, I'd love to get your thoughts on my own story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell this quite a lot when I'm interviewed on podcasts, but I don't think it's come up on this show, is that we hear a lot of, in the coaching space, you go to seminars about money, and it's all like, write down your money thoughts, and your money patterns. And what are the, money doesn't grow on trees, or money doesn't buy happiness. Money's the root of all evil. Penny saved is penny earned. All these kind of things. I grew up rich.
Okay.
Private schools, fuck off house, ladies. Like dad had a bunch of businesses, owned a bunch of buildings. I think looking back, I think we were really, really very comfortable indeed when I was a kid. And the funny thing for me was when I started my business and went out and I had my long-term partner, Ali, and everything, my money programming became, if I don't have all these things, if I don't have all this success, I am a bad partner, I'm a bad dad, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so instead of having a scarcity around money, I had like a real poor attitude towards myself, and that if I couldn't achieve that, then I was going to be a failure. So I knew that it was so possible, but I expected it all to happen for me easily and quickly, because from the outside, it did for my dad. But looking back, he was working 7 days a week as well. for
Yeah.
25 years, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so he's just smart and really good at marketing and, numbers, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so basically, my programming for the first kind of 5 years of my own businesses was I should be doing better than this. And it was just pure guilt the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just beating myself up and just feeling like a total loser when things weren't. I couldn't get my wife things. I ran out of money on our honeymoon, and my wife's bank account started paying for, everything, like the honeymoon was paid for, but then she started having to pay for dinners and stuff. And that is such a kick in the balls, for me. It didn't have to be, but I took it as a kick in the balls. She was fine with it. I was not fine with it because of my programming was, you're the man, you support, you provide, and you provide. Skiing holidays. Like my dad freaking got I remember this the other day. When I graduated year 6, we had a party at our house and my dad hired a professional fireworks show.
You're not to talk to my son. Because he'd be going, what the hell, Dad?
They're trying to live up to that when I'm making sales into my coaching business at $63 a week. And I'm in all this, living in this shitty apartment where the washing machine flows into the bathtub and I'm stealing internet from the cafe downstairs, all this kind of thing. And I had to sell my van and I was driving a car that wasn't registered with a crack in the windscreen, all this stuff. I was like, I'm not my dad yet. And so it was it was kind of the opposite. Did you see many people in your career who have actually come from the opposite, when they've come from a really, really comfortable household and that's messed up their own money mindset?
Absolutely. We either imitate or we effectively rebel against. And it's not a conscious thing. It's not rebel in the sense of we go down this path of crime and we're never to be seen again because we're lost in the drug world or whatever it might be. We either imitate or we rebel. And where you can see the biggest rebellion is where you've got people come from incredible poverty to rise up and be one of the most infamous or even famous people on the planet, whether it be a musician, rapper, or those sort of people come to mind, because they generally do have stories of such poverty and hardship. And to me, what I've seen and how I relate to it is that it's a little akin to life being somewhat like an alleyway. So you're on the bright lights of the street. It's the hustle and bustle. It's good fun. You're feeling well. And you look down the alleyway and you go down that alleyway, you can duck in there a little bit and it's a little bit dark and you start to feel uneasy. And some people, unfortunately, in their lives get taken right down into the darkest corner of this alleyway and they are scared so much and they are so afraid there's no way in hell I'm staying here. And that's the rebellion. And they run so fast the other way out into the street and so far, and they never stop running, that they reach the opposite ends of the spectrum. And this is just how I relate to it. Now, for you, what it sounds like is that was what was modeled for you. It was, this is how, as a man, you provide. And again, there's no dismissing the energy that comes in and around our mum and our dad and what they model for us. So that's what you experience. But the problem, what happened there, and this is where it comes up to you now, the awareness, is the agreement you made with yourself. You're somewhere in that moment, whether it was 13, 14, or whatever it is, and it literally only takes one moment, maybe two in your lifetime, in your childhood, to go, you know what? This is what I've got to do to be a man. Somewhere along the line, and again, I want to make this very clear, this is not about blaming mum, dads, or otherwise, the guardians, whoever it was that raised you or spent the most time with you. This is simply about recognizing, because they don't even know what they've done or haven't done. Our oldest son's brought things up about what I've done for him. And I go, shit, I don't even remember doing that. So this is about recognizing the agreement you made with yourself. And it could be for you, I'm not a man unless I'm doing what dad's done. Sounds like your wife doesn't care. It sounds like she's okay.
Yeah.
So your value, the way we feel, and this is the biggest part of this overall, the value that we feel within ourselves, that sense of our own worth, that's what is missing just about in everybody. And that is the difference between success, if we put it in that traditional terms, versus not having success in traditional terms. So somewhere along the line, you didn't feel you were worth anything other than the material gains. But the way you tick, you've gone, how do I do this? You're not your dad. Simple. You don't tick like him. Just because he did it, it doesn't mean that's your truth. You know what I mean? So it's what's modeled for us. It's our own little bubble as children. That's all we see. So that's what we think we got to do. And we're not taught to think for ourselves like our children. I try and show even our granddaughter, I try and allow her to lead the way and guide her. Like if she's about to fall off a cliff, I'm obviously going to pull her back, but I'll let her guide rather than tell her what to do. And she's only 2. She bloody well knows what she wants to do. So it's in that, our programming, what we're shown and what we think is right, but we're not shown how to connect with what we really desire and what we really love. So I have definitely seen what you're talking about. It's either imitation or rebellion. People coming from very, very materially wealthy families that can end up nowhere financially. Absolutely see and I see the opposite, like I just explained. So yeah.
The whole rapper thing is very, very true as well, isn't it? You see all these rappers who are probably flashing their cash so much more than your average rock star because they've come from such poverty, right? And so now they've got it. It's that's what they were going for, and that inspires them. The younger, rappers who are also sitting in Detroit or in the slums of Chicago, and then thinking, okay, I can do this as well. And so I completely get it. It's really interesting. I'm pretty confident I've sorted out all my own shit now, and I've got I know as well that there's 100% zero resentment at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I know it was all my shit. I know it was all me doing it to myself, and they were absolutely awesome. And we do everything to ourselves. We do. That agreement we make with ourselves. So, dude, Kai, I could literally talk to you for hours. I think we've just gotten so much gold here that I'm going to actually just quit while we're ahead. And,
cool.
No, thank you so much for delivering some really impactful advice today, mate. And it's More Than Money podcast. Is there a particular platform you like to have that on? Is there a place where it's best to listen to you?
Spotify and Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts. They're the most common, but it is on all major stations. Like it's on iHeartRadio. The list is long. And cool. Being the tech savvy person I am, I don't necessarily pay too much attention to what that list is, but it's just about on all major podcast type platforms. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I'm going to put it on my late night walking list. It sounds really cool.
Thank you. And importantly, out of that, there's some really awesome guests on there. And I just want to point out, it's not about getting necessarily onto my podcast, but what the people we have on, and they're so sharing with their intellect and what they've learned and experienced. And, our minds are a powerful thing, but if we just need to guide them in the best way that serves us. So once we take control of that, our life it's infinite. We just got to get over that little gremlin that sits on the shoulder, that little voice. Thank you so much, Alex, for having me on, mate. Loved it.
Kai, what a pleasure, mate. And anyone listening or watching live, thank you so much. Sorry about the hiccups. Anyone who is on the recording, what a pleasure. And we didn't have any hiccups. So
absolutely.
We'll be back in a few days' time with another episode of Coaches to the Moon. Until then, thank you so much for listening.